2, 2, hello. Check 2. Hello, chat, are you with me? Are you with me? It's funny, I was having somewhat reservations about doing this stream. I was like, do I need to do this? Do I need to do this? Do I need to take my Saturday to do this stream? I wasn't sure, and I'm very. That's why I'm starting at 2 p.m. rather than noon, which is when I wanted to start streaming ideally. So I'm rallying myself. I'm here. I don't know if it's ambitious. I don't know if anyone's going to show up today. I don't know if people have had enough of TRS for the week and they're ready to take some time off. I don't know. I don't know if this is a good idea. I don't know if it's ambitious to have a final Slubtember stream. But I'm going for it. Never enough, says Hincho. That's the kind of attitude that I like to see. That's the kind of attitude that I like to see. Football is on. But isn't today, it's only like college football. I can't do college football. Like, I'm a big basketball fan, and I don't watch college basketball. College sports just don't really. I know there's a big market for that. There's a big market for that. I get that. It's not for me, though. It's not for me. Only we hardcore TRS Friendship Triangle residents here. Well, it's all right. It's all right. You know, well, I'm gonna try. That's what I told myself. I might as well try. There's one day left in Slubtember here. I might as well try. The Blinken tweet driving me insane. Absolutely, we can. It's the revisionism, the historical revisionism, just won't stop, and it seems to be exponentially progressing. And listen, I told people when I hit a certain number of subscribers that I would eat some extremely spicy noodles on this stream. Did I not say that? I did, right? Twin Tower Enjoyer. That's right. We went from clean Wehrmacht to clean SS, and we're one step away from the crown jewel. The crown jewel of anti-communist historical revisionism. You know, we went past lesser evil. We went past double genocide theory. Now we're into lesser evil theory. That Blinken tweet about
You've
that
just
is amazing.
become an elite member of the Friendship Triangle.
Hezzy, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Very, very kind of you. Getting this shit started off right. Like I said, I didn't know if it was ambitious doing a big slubathon today. I can only go till like 6. I'm meeting friends at 6, so we're gonna see how this goes. But yes, what's the Blinken tweet? Okay, we're gonna look at it in a few minutes. Let me just get settled in here, okay? And we'll talk about it. But it is atrocious. And it shows how far along we are on that path of historical revisionism. Where we're not only are we equating the Soviets and the Nazis, but like we're suggesting that, you know, the Soviets were worse, or that the Holocaust happened because of the Soviets. Oh, they've forced Germans to act like this. They've forced these fascist sympathizing partisans and nationalists to act like this because of their overreach. That's kind of where we're at right now. And we got the Secretary of State of the United States, who's Jewish, by the way, promoting this idea. That's how fucking sick it is. It's okay. We don't need to skip the chit-chat zone. I'm late getting started anyway, so I don't want to screw around too much. It's sure nice we have these government agencies to fight all this disinformation. That's right. The disinformation experts have logged on. Anyway, folks, I told people, perhaps foolishly, I told people that if I got to a certain number of subs, that I would eat some extremely spicy noodles on the stream. Right? Did I not say that? I did, didn't I? Maybe it was not smart of me to make this promise. I'm not sure when I said that I felt like I was in danger of getting to that point anytime soon. But I'm a man of my word. Just like Joker in the Christopher Nolan film, The Dark Knight. So earlier, I went out to pick these up. Now, chat, you've got to tell me. You've got to tell me about whether this is acceptable. So I was saying that I was going to eat the 3 times spicy buldak noodles. Okay? And the regular buldak noodles are very spicy. I went to the Korean grocery near where I live, where they have every kind of ramen you can imagine. I got this. Now, I don't know if I hallucinated the 3 times spicy kind. I don't know if this is going against what I said that I would do. I don't think it is. Like, these are going to be extremely spicy, no matter how you look at it. So, I'm going to have to let you be the judge whether this is going to be acceptable for an extremely spicy noodle to eat as a thank you for getting to the certain subscriber number that I was talking about. Is this like the one chip thing? Not really, because like that the one chip thing seems to be, no one eats that like to enjoy themselves. No one eats the one chip challenge because like, I would like a spicy little treat. It's like they're doing it to like torture themselves. This people actually like eat. People just eat this regularly. So I think that's the big difference. Carl Bajer had a good thread on Babin Yar. Yeah, no, I saw a couple of things. I saw a couple of things that we can take a look at about that. It's also Truth and Reconciliation Day here in Canada as well, so we can talk a little bit about... I mean, it's all connected, right? Canada's connection with Ukraine, Canada's connection with fascism, and Canada's genocide of Indigenous peoples. These things are absolutely connected. It shouldn't be surprising that the Nazis were directly inspired by North American settler colonialism with Lebensraum and stuff. The treatment of Canadians, specifically treatment of Indigenous peoples, and the subjecting them to fucked up biological experiments and stuff. This was directly influential to the Nazis. So, as I've been saying, it is not surprising that Canada, after the war, welcomed in all these Ukrainian fascists. It's very much part of our legacy. I just bought some Indomie mee goreng barbecue chicken for the first time. That is really good. Those are really good noodles. If you use that as a base to kind of make something else, add some meat or veg to it, or cheese even. I've never added the cheese to the mee goreng. I can't speak to that. But really, really good. Throw some cilantro and green onion on there as well with whatever you throw in. Excellent. Shrimp even would be good. Shrimp, bean sprouts, cilantro. Great shit. Hello, Kate. How's it going? Immediately make me hungry. That's the kind of the effect that I have on people. I was just out going to the store, and I really regret not getting an energy drink now. I really wish that I had gotten one. I really wish that I had gotten one. But here's what's on the agenda today, folks. Again, maybe not right this moment, but I will be eating some of these extremely spicy noodles, which I promised to the community that I would do. If we get today to 50 subs on the final day of Slubtember, whether we will, whether we won't, I don't know. I think maybe if I was here for 6, 7, 8, 9 hours, I would feel comfortable with that. But I really only have 4 hours here to work with. So if we don't, we don't, and it's totally okay. I'm trying to make sure that people understand that. I'm not cracking the whip. No one's obligated to do anything. I know it's ambitious doing this final stream and trying to see if we can get to 50 subs today. I get it. Believe me, I get it. But if we do get to 50 subs, I will sing a little song as well. So not only are we going to have some important discourse and dialogue and learning, but we got spicy noodles and potentially, maybe, we'll see, possibly, a little song as well. Do you know about Chrystia Freeland's grandfather? Yes, I know very well about Chrystia Freeland's grandfather, Michael Chomiak. Fascist collaborator Michael Chomiak and Nazi sympathizing propagandist. This is why I said when this Nazi was in our parliament and the Zelensky's giving the big speech and all that, Chrystia Freeland was the happiest day of her life because it's the culmination of her whole family's life's work. You know? This is what establishing this exact kind of like anti-Soviet Ukrainian nationalism has been a project of her family for now multiple generations. Which is why it was so funny how this completely blew up in her face and our government's face and turned into a massive international scandal, and has more people than ever talking about this fascist legacy in this kind of Ukrainian nationalist movement. There's something very delectable about that. My friend brought me this funny protein drink that's called Soylent. They got me mint chocolate. It was the only green one. Well, Soylent, that's like supposed to be, that was this like tech guy meal replacement. Like Soylent was supposed to be like, you can just drink this all the time and you will get all your nutrients. If like tech people wanted to be like gerbils or whatever, just have a little feeding tube where they don't have to move or like taste things or, ingest anything. Whom amongst us hasn't embraced fascism because someone whispered communism to us once? Apparently very few people, because judging from the commentary that I'm seeing on Twitter, it seems like a lot of people actually are more than happy to embrace fascism because of this reason. So I thought that was kind of controversial at one point, but apparently not. I've never tried a Soylent before. I've never tried it. I like food. I like to get my nutrients through food, as you can see from looking at me. I like to get my nutrients through eating food. There's something about, eating food that I just kind of enjoy. I just kind of enjoy it. And I don't want to just slurp up this, like, mush, even if it's good flavored mush with mint chocolate or whatever. I like to have actual food sometimes as a little treat. I like how food makes my brain feel too. I agree with that. Me too. I'm literally a chef, but this saves me so much time. That's funny being a chef and then being like, you spend all the time cooking for other people and then being like, just give me some Soylent. Just blend it up and drink it through a straw. There we go. Like, Cobra. Sly Stallone as Cobra. You see him at the beginning of the movie. He's just like blending up like a piece of pizza and an egg and stuff and just drinking it. I got no time to prepare food. I got bad guys to shoot. I got bad guys to murder. Grind me up that pizza. Cold pizza from a few days ago. That's not acting. He really does that. They were actually just filming Sylvester Stallone as he was preparing for the role in that scene. Hang on, I'm just going to get a little beverage. One sec. Hey Dave, what's up? Not preparing the death noodles yet. Not quite yet. I guess I can start throwing them on the stove soon. I'm really not looking forward to it. You know? I'm really not looking forward to it at all, frankly. Although the 2 times shouldn't be so bad. Did I just hallucinate the 3 times spicy kind? I don't think I did. But this was all they had at the store, and I had to get a 5-pack. They didn't even have them in like regular. They didn't have in regular singles. I had to buy a 5-pack of like the spiciest noodles imaginable. I guess it'd be good to mix with other stuff. I don't know what it is, but like room temperature coffee I find very unpleasant. Room temp coffee, or just like cold coffee, not very good. When it's ice cold though, wonderful. Wonderful. I'm hypnotizing you. Okay. There we go. The sudden urge to murder a diplomat, like in Naked Gun. I must kill the queen. In that fictional movie. I wasn't just saying... And the queen's dead anyways, so you can't kill her anymore. It's even better with condensed milk. Oh, that must be nice. You get the sweetness of that. Yeah, that must be very good. I don't have any condensed milk. This is just some cream in there. We could try. There's nothing stopping us from trying. By the way, it's nice. I'm in flannel. It's flannel shirt season here again in Montreal. That's nice. I'm happy that I can get back. I can break out my flannel shirts. I'm going to be in flannel shirt.
You can count on me.
You're
going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Next May or so. Hey, Subversive History. Thank you for the 2 gifted subs. There we go. Thank you for that. Very kind of you. I hope your stream went well yesterday. You know what I did yesterday? I had plans that kind of fell through. And I didn't want to just like sit in my apartment at my desk all day because that's what I was all night because that's what I was doing like all day. So last night I tried something. I tried a little something new for myself, which is I went to the local bar solo for a pint. I went and had a pint solo at my local establishment. Anyone ever do that? I'm still not sure if I can totally be one of those guys. I don't know if I can totally be one of the go to the bar by myself guys, but it was kind of nice. That's not serial killer. It's not. It's like I could have just sit in my apartment and just scrolled my phone all night by myself. Or instead what I did, I walked 2 minutes to the local brewery. It's not a brewery. The local establishment. And I sat and scrolled my phone there. And I had a few beers while scrolling my phone at the bar. And then I went home. The local watering hole. That's right. You got to take yourself on a date. And it was kind of nice, honestly. I was there for like 45 minutes, an hour. I got out of the house. I got a little bit of a buzz on. I came back and I was watching that Judge Dredd movie, the one with Carl Urban. Which I don't think I ever saw the whole thing of, and I still didn't see the whole thing of it because then after I started watching that movie, after about 20 minutes, I became very tired. Did you sit in a dark corner staring menacingly into your glass? No, I mostly scrolled my phone. Hey, Don Dark Sony, what's up? I just sat there and scrolled my phone. I looked at Twitter. You know, hung around. I grooved out to some of the music. It was kind of cool. Okay, I liked it. And yet going to a movie solo is nice as well. I haven't done that in quite a long time. Sorry, I'm just being silly. I eat lunch alone all the time at work because I hate speaking to people. Well, I think eating the work lunch is different from the evening solo bar visit. I think it's a little bit of a different vibe. I think it's a little bit more acceptable. It's a little bit more socially acceptable to be having the solo lunch.
Wow. Okay, Rob. Seriously, wow.
Oh my goodness gracious. Don Dark Sony. Good lord. Good lord, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. That's ludicrous. I really appreciate that, Don Dark Zoni, and I appreciate all the support over the 3 years that I've been doing this. Thank you, Don Dark Zoni. And bumped off Dr. Maggot from the gift sub leaderboards as well. Sorry, Dr. Maggot. We'll see if we can get to 50. We will see. Again, I don't know if it's going to happen. I didn't give myself enough time, so if it doesn't, that's totally okay. But if we can get to 50 subs, I will, as promised, sing a little song, and I will sing the song Sailing by Christopher Cross. Just FYI. And we're all ready.
You've just become an elite member
my
of
goodness.
the Friendship Triangle.
Jesus Christ. Diego, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. And for all the support. Thank you so much, Diego. Already almost halfway there. A secret Saturday gaming stream playing Cyberpunk. I thought we were going to more like talk about serious shit, King Window. I don't know if I'll have time to game. I don't know if I'll be gaming. We'll see. I don't have as much time because I can't go beyond 6. I'm meeting some people at 6, so I was hoping to do some discourse, but I am going to eat these noodles though. I can eat these noodles. I'll go put these on soon. I'll go put these on in a couple minutes. Did you see that video of the YouTube prankster getting shot? Yeah, I did. I didn't really get what prank he was doing. I don't want to celebrate like an annoying guy.
You've just become an elite member of the
Holy
Friendship
shit.
Triangle.
Holy shit. Don Dark Sony, thanks for another 8 gifted subs. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. My goodness. Yeah, I don't know if we should I don't know if I should celebrate an annoying YouTube guy getting shot, you know? Like I saw people just being like laughing
You've just
about it.
become an elite member of the
Lord.
Friendship Triangle.
Oh my lord. Mike, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. My goodness. I really didn't have a lot of confidence about this Saturday Slubtember stream. Man. This community is honestly just so fantastic and supportive. It really can't be said enough. It can't be said enough. Really, really unbelievable. The level to which people support the work that I do on here. We got some real Christopher Cross heads in the chat. I guess so. We're 15 subs away from Sailing by Christopher Cross. Rib the Slub. More and more people are demanding this. Oh. Food delivery is super dangerous. Well, that's the thing. I don't support annoying YouTube guys being shot. And I watched the clip. I don't want to show it on stream because I don't know if it's like violent or whatever because it's literally a guy getting shot. I didn't quite get what he was doing. He's like sticking his phone in the guy's face and playing some sound thing. And the guy's like, get away from me, please. Like, stop doing this. And the guy just won't stop doing it. I didn't quite get what it was. And then he just takes out a gun, like hip fires. It seemed like a non-lethal shooting. It didn't seem like a shoot to kill situation, but it was like, you know, like I said, it's America. You never know what people are what their intentions are. You know, and it's a society that encourages everyone to arm up to defend themselves like this. It's a prank where they pretend they can't speak English, so they use the translator to say absurd things. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think someone deserves to be shot for that, but you know, the guy's like, stop. Like, he's like, get away from me. And he just keeps aggressively like sticking his phone in his face, and I couldn't make out what he was saying. And he just shoots him. Yeah, I don't support annoying YouTube pranksters just being shot on sight. I think that's maybe a little harsh, but maybe people do need to be a little bit more cognizant when they're filming this kind of content where they're trying to like get a rise out of people. Be a bit more cognizant about like the way that could be perceived by people. People certainly not sensitive about people not speaking English. I didn't get the impression that that's what it was. You know? Just saw it. Getting shot is a bit much. I would say being shot for that is probably a little harsh, you know? I think it's probably a little bit harsh. It's safe to say. But people should probably not be doing that kind of content where they're going to harass strangers or aggressively approaching them or sticking stuff in their face when they're asking you to stop. I mean, I don't think you should be shot for it, but maybe just people shouldn't be doing that shit in the first place. Let's not go to people's doors. It wasn't people's. It was like in a shopping mall. It was in like a mall. It was in like a mall food court or something. Yeah, and he's like a food delivery guy, like trying to do his job. Like in terms of the sort of class dynamics or the power dynamics, I'm gonna side usually with the food delivery guy over the annoying YouTube prankster. I will say still though, with that, keeping that in mind, that shooting the guy was a lot. It was a lot to do that. Yeah, it was a mall. It was a mall shooting. It's really a wild clip. Can I watch it on Twitch? It's not like bloody or anything. It's not bloody. Am I going to get in trouble if I put that? What do you think? What do you think, chat? I won't snitch. You never know with some of the haters and losers, Chopper Dave. Some of the haters and losers that sometimes come in here to mess with us. You never know. Personally, I would not put a video of a guy getting shot. I don't know what to tell you. I think that's probably fair. Risking the ban to dodge the singing. Hey, I still have 15 subs to go. Yeah? If I get 14 more subs, guess what? The singing's not happening. Did he die? I don't think so. I think it would be a lot more grim and gruesome to talk about if the guy died, but I don't think so. If you want to see it, you can just go on Twitter and type YouTube shooting, and you'll probably see it. I think we should probably be less quick to just start blasting in any circumstance, but the guy was like, stop doing this, and he was just like aggressively sticking this thing in his face. Rob gets banned after we gifted so many subs. Exactly. We don't want that. It's just a prank. Seriously, it's literally that. It is literally that. He was acquitted of negligent discharge of a firearm. Oh yeah? Okay. So this was a while ago that this happened? I only saw the clip. I didn't really investigate it too much. Not good. Dakadoon, what do you think about this? I've been promising the 3 times spicy noodles. And people said like, oh, you're not going to be able to find them. You're not going to be able to do it. And I said, no, of course I am. Of course it's going to be fine. I will be able to. And I went to the Korean grocery before starting to stream today. And this is all this. I got these. I got the 2 times spicy. Is this acceptable? And I have fucking 5 of these now. Is this acceptable? Acceptable to me? Okay, well your word goes a long way here, Dakadoon, so. Maybe not acceptable for your arteries. I don't know if I'm going to eat the whole thing of them. I bet this would be good though. One of these, I bet if you're like adding stuff to it, and maybe a bit of coconut milk as well. That'd be kind of nice, right? If you made it into more of like a soupy thing, some coconut milk to dilute that a little bit, so it's spicy. That'd be kind of nice, I think. That'd be pretty good. I add serranos. Wow. Kate Iris Fire. You're not fucking around here with the name. You eat fire, I guess so. I'm gonna go put on the water right now. Let's just do this. Okay? If people really want me to, I will add some chili crisp. Is that acceptable? If I have 2 times spicy noodles with added chili crisp, is that acceptable? It's gotta be. That's gonna have to be good enough, I think. I'm not a heat seeker myself, so level 2 sounds rough enough. Well, this is what I was saying, right? The regular buldak noodles that I get, I still eat them, but it's like the upper limit of what I'm able to actually eat and enjoy. The regular kind. So this is going to be pretty bad. I want you to add the coconut milk because I like people to be comfortable, but I want to suffer. Sun Chow. I want to suffer for your enjoyment, okay? That's what this is about. It's about pain. Have an egg soft yolk coats the stomach. I actually ate some more noodles earlier when I was getting these noodles. I got a little beef noodle salad thing that they have at the grocery because I didn't want to eat all the spicy shit on like an empty stomach. So I'm not even super hungry. Mukbang till death. There is that one YouTuber, Don Dark Sony, that's like in like dire health situation after years of mukbangs now. Isn't there a guy that was like already famous on YouTube that over years now has like literally like destroyed his body with the mukbangs? A Vindaloo and a nice pint of Cobra right now to hit the spot. I don't get that Cobra enough. That's good. I like the Tsing Tsao as well, which I don't often see around here, weirdly enough. Nicocado avocado, yeah. I don't think that's very good. I don't really think it's good that we're kind of encouraging and incentivizing and monetizing that kind of thing. I think it's probably pretty bad. Someone kind of basically in slow motion killing themselves for like content and YouTube subscriptions. Someone just like completely degrading themselves day in, day out for others' enjoyment. I feel sorry for whoever that could be. Isn't that what you do? Well, the difference is that I'm not actively killing myself. I think that would make the whole thing give a kind of different, darker angle. If I was like actively looking less and less healthy each stream, and you were all supporting me and encouraging me to continue like destroying myself, I think that would be, I do some silly stuff. I sing and dance and do all kinds of wacky stuff, eat spicy noodles, whatever it is. I think that takes it to kind of another more darker place, when you're in like a saw trap of your own design, your own making. What about the Diet Cokes? I drink not enough Diet Coke per day to have an overall impact on my health. I'm in the safe zone. If I have like one Diet Coke a day or maybe two, it's not that big of a deal. Okay, it's fine. My water's boiling here, so I'm going to go throw in my 2 times spicy buldak noodles. Well, I'm going to do a picture. One moment. Ugh. Capitalism is so messed up. We're encouraged to monetize our trauma, or if not monetized to the point of trauma. That's right. Yeah. No, it's a very healthy system. The whole content creator economy here that we've invented for ourselves. Really good stuff. My noodle's just on the stove now, softening up.
Why would you say something so controversial yet so brave? Why would you
Sorry. I don't know what that was. Just, okay, looking for maybe something I can throw on here. It's getting real here, folks. It's getting real. I'm a little disappointed I couldn't find the 3 times spicy ones. I know I've seen them around here. I was very surprised they weren't at the actual store today. Hopefully this is going to be acceptable to people. Worst case, you enjoy a nice meal. I guess that's a good way of looking at it. Okay, let me go fix this here. Let me go fix this up. One sec. Give me 1 sec, folks. Okay. They're spicy enough. I don't recommend skipping a level. Got to build that tolerance. I guess that makes sense. I'm glad people in this community don't want to torture me too badly here. That's nice. I just added a little cilantro. Here it is. And they even smell spicy. They smell extremely spicy. Like, it doesn't smell like anything other than just, like, flame. I'm going to wait for them to cool down a little bit. Ugh. Just give it like 5-10 minutes to cool down so I don't like burn my mouth on the actual heat. In addition to the spice. I'm a masochist. I would like to see pain. Well, there's going to be pain, believe me. Like I said, Dr. Maggot, the regular version of these noodles is really the upper limit of what I'm able to handle. And this is twice as spicy as that. So you do the math on that. By the way, I'm sorry to say, Dr. Maggot, but you were unfortunately knocked off the gift sub leaderboard by Don Dark Sony. I'm sorry to report. I know how important to you that was. Oh, I'm really not looking forward to it, honestly. I'm really, really not looking forward to eating these. I'm creating class antagonisms through the TRS tiered reward system. I'm simply pointing out that it seemed to be important to Dr. Maggot, and I just wanted to inform that that's what's going on. No ulterior motive whatsoever. Look at this face. Look at this face. You think I'm going to mess around with that kind of stuff? No. No, thank you. That's not what I'm about, okay? That is not what I'm about. Like I was saying today, folks, like today is the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation here in Canada. So I think continuing to talk about this issue that's come to the forefront over the last couple of weeks, or the last week especially, about this Nazi in Parliament, I think is a really interesting to continue focusing on that, and then also talk about that in the context to our treatment of Indigenous populations. You know, and you ask yourself what fascism is. I mean, this is what I was saying, we kind of wrote the playbook on this, which was copied by the Nazis. And we can say that too and not downplay the horrific crimes of the Nazis. Like, and that's never the point of pointing out these kinds of links. But it's just to talk about the ways that this is not, as much as we've been led to believe, this kind of historical aberration. The way that Canada, committed this kind of
you can count
mass
on
murder
me
and
and
genocide.
good old Rob to talk you through all this.
From before it was even a country, when it was literally just a company. Justin Trudeau said a few weeks ago, Canada is a company, and then he corrected himself. Like that's what Canada is, a company. It was, and then eventually they were just like, maybe we need to come up with some kind of national myth here, to kind of pretend that we're a sort of shared culture and we're not just a series of different cartels that operate this entire place. But that's exactly what it is. And I think engaging in that kind of mass murder and theft and genocide, as a result of being controlled by these kinds of capitalist monopolies. I mean, it is fascism, you know? Absolutely, Carrier Wave, and thanks very much for 31 months tier 1. Thank you for that. The Hudson's Bay Company, that's it. I think that's one thing that has to kind of click into place when you grow up in this country is understanding that never went away, you know? So here
You've just become an elite member of the Friendship Triangle.
Oh, goodness. Dr. Maggot. Dr. Maggot, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Totally unnecessary, sir. Totally unnecessary. But very much appreciated. Thank you so much, Dr. Maggot. For all the support this month, seriously. It is extremely cool. And I appreciate it a lot. Thank you. Man, I was skeptical about this final Slubtember stream, and once again the community is proving to me how fucking cool and supportive everyone is. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, folks. I really can't. We're 9 subs away from Christopher Cross. Maybe if it coincides at the same time, I can eat spicy noodles while singing Christopher Cross at the same time, even. No, I don't think I'm going to be doing that. Anyway, let's talk a little bit more about this issue. You know, we've spent all week, but stories keep coming out about it. Stories keep coming out about this stuff this week. So, Amy Goodman, I think, has
you can count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Has a piece here. I think Rania talked to Justin Poder about this. So we got a couple of other things to look at, and there's even more stuff that's been breaking too about the history and the legacy of this community. I really didn't expect it to break containment like this. It's not going away. And Don Dark Sony, Jesus Christ, thank you for another 2 gifted subs. Ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. No, that's what we've been saying, right, Carrier Wave? It's like, I totally expected this to just get swept under the rug like this stuff always does. And I really do believe that it's the result of people on Twitter that turned this into a big scandal and a big international news story. Because otherwise it would have just gotten swept under the rug and forgotten. I'm genuinely surprised that our media have had to comment on it at all. And you see our media, like with the Globe and Mail, already trying to, dilute this legacy and giving this guy, are we being a little bit too harsh on this guy kind of thing? It's awful. Awful. I was rewatching Nathan For You this week, and he had a whole bit where he created the fleece jackets because the Canadian company supported a Holocaust denier. Yeah. I haven't seen that one. Anyway, let's look at this clip with Amy Goodman. Okay? Here it is.
Honored last week in the Canadian House of Commons was actually a Nazi, setting off a diplomatic crisis. Last Friday, Canada's House of Commons gave
they
a
had everything
standing
too. They did the Zelensky speech
to a Canadian-Ukrainian veteran who
Everyone was
fought in
thrilled.
a Nazi SS unit during World War II. 98-year-old Yaroslav Hunka
Oh, he's
was honored
98.
during
Can we
a
just leave
visit
him alone?
by the
No.
Ukrainian
No, I don't
president,
think we can.
Volodymyr Zelensky, who also applauded him.
Well, this is the thing, Malix, and this is what we've been talking about. Really surprising how many people are kind of leaning into it and equating the communists and the Nazis. This is what we're going to keep talking about, right? As much as the Canadian government has been like, oh, we made a big mistake here. We're so sorry. I can't believe that we would bring a Nazi into parliament. Most of their supporters are saying that, like, actually, no, like, let's look at what the SS was doing. And really, they were just defending their homeland. Like, really, they were defending themselves from this cruel Soviet occupation. Like, people's willingness to go online with their own real identities and make excuses for the fucking SS should be alarming to everybody. And then you have Anthony Blinken encouraging this kind of thing as well. The amount of whitewashing and historical revisionism and rehabilitating Nazis, all the way up to including Hitler. It's still frowned upon to praise Hitler, even though, like, we saw Michael McFaul last year. What did he say? Say what you want about Hitler, but he didn't kill his own people like the brutal Soviets did. That's how much the Russia bad narrative has morphed into this. Yeah, no, it's blowing me away as well, and it should be really alarming to everybody the way that this is happening. And it's exactly why, yeah, Max Foss and Justin Ling, absolutely. It's really disturbing, honestly. All the disinformation experts, right, Stick? The disinformation experts like Justin Ling are really jumping on this to fucking make excuses for the SS. Or even hilariously being like, listen, there is no excuse. There is no excuse for joining the SS. They were not heroes. But, and it's like, no, there's no but. There's no but. That's the end of the sentence. You do not need to add anything onto that. But people are still doing it. It's really incredible, honestly. As bad as Hitler was, at least he wasn't Russian. Well, like, we saw our ruling class, of course, up till 1939 supported the Nazis because they were just going to kill Russians and Jews and Polish people and other people that we didn't give a shit about. It was only afterwards when they started threatening the global sort of capitalist empire that they started to be like, okay, we got to do something with these guys, I guess. There's a George Carlin bit about this as well. Carlin was talking about this years ago. It's one thing to say we know what Canada is and always has been, but I have to admit I've been surprised by how much it's been weighing on me. For sure, yeah, no, it's really disturbing. Seriously, it has been really, really disturbing. Anyway, let's watch this segment.
Chamber today, Ukrainian Canadian world veteran from the Second World War who fought the Ukrainian independence against the Russians and continues to support the troops today, even at his age of 98.
That's the Speaker of the House of Commons, Anthony Rota, who
still continues to support the troops to this day, really spelling it out.
Resigned from his post Tuesday.
This House is above any of us. Therefore, I must step down as your Speaker. I reiterate my profound regret for my error in recognizing an individual in the House during the joint address to Parliament of President Zelensky. That public recognition has caused pain to individuals and communities, including the Jewish community in Canada and around the world, in addition to survivors of Nazi atrocities in Poland, among other nations. I accept full responsibility for my actions.
It smells so spicy.
On Wednesday, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau also formally apologized.
Trudeau.
I also want to reiterate how deeply sorry Canada is for the situation this put President Zelensky and the Ukrainian delegation in. It is extremely
troubling. Why was Zelensky applauding? Why will no one answer this question?
Egregious error is being politicized by Russia and its supporters to provide false propaganda about what Ukraine is fighting for. Friday's joint session was about what Canada stands for. About our steadfast support of Ukraine's fight against
Zelensky didn't seem scandalized at all. Let's seriously. What I would like to do is go find some of the people that we've been sending arms to in these Azov guys who Zelensky has openly hung out with and collaborated with and upholds. Let's go ask them what they think about this guy. If this is false. If this is falsely being used as disinformation by Russia, let's just go and ask some of these Azov guys what they think about the Waffen-SS and what they think about this guy Yaroslav Hunka and whether they consider him to be a Ukrainian hero or not. I'd be interested to hear what they have to say about that. Something tells me we're not going to be doing that, though, because that might shatter this narrative that we've created that there's this like false propaganda claim that these people support the exact nationalists and fascist sympathizers that the Waffen-SS was connected to. What part of the existence of the man you welcome to Parliament is false? This is it. This is a good question. It's a very good question. And like we've been saying, folks, it's not about the one guy. Every single pro-Ukraine rally from before and after this conflict started, you see that UPA flag for the Ukrainian Insurgent Army, which was connected to Bandera, who helped carry out the Holocaust. Every single one of these rallies, including one with Chrystia Freeland, was holding it herself. She doesn't know what that means, really? You know, it's just preposterous to pretend that this is some isolated incident. And we embarrassed Zelensky and the Ukrainian delegation. They were thrilled. They were clapping. Yeah, our government acknowledges Black Ribbon Day. That's what Black Ribbon Day is like representing. Isn't his deputy prime minister the daughter of a Ukrainian Nazi? The granddaughter, but yes. And I've got information about this. Let's continue this.
It was a moment to celebrate and acknowledge the sacrifices of Ukrainians as they fight for their democracy, their freedom, their language and culture, and for peace. This is the side Canada was on in World War II, and this is the side we are on today.
Very tricky the way we've tried to turn this around. Canada was on the right side in World War II, thankfully, considering how many people in our ruling class did not want to be on that side. You know, Canadian soldiers, like in the Mackenzie Papineau Battalion, went to Spain to volunteer to fight in the Spanish Civil War against Franco, and our government literally said, no, you're not allowed to do that. No one's allowed to do that anymore. Like, we had Canadians that were volunteering to be part of this anti-fascist battle, you know, or struggle. And our government was like, no, you're not allowed to do that. And yet we did fight the Nazis, thankfully, alongside our allies, the Soviets, who did a hell of a lot more than we did to defeat the fascists, the Nazis. They did a hell of a lot more than we did. And we're here trying to frame them with our diplomatic actions, with our rhetoric. We're trying to frame them as being just as bad or worse as the Nazis, which is a horrendous lie and a form of Holocaust denialism. Yeah, never mention which sides the Soviets we were on, because we can't, because Russia is bad and we just can't acknowledge that the Soviets were the good guys in that war. And we have to make this connection between modern Russia today and the Soviet Union, which is good enough for a lot of people. A lot of people seem to believe this. Okay, I'm going to get to this segment in just one sec. Just listen, folks. I told people that if I got to 800 subs, which is a lot, and I was after the summer when I took time off and my kid was away from school and I took a lot of time off and I was really behind the 8 ball. I didn't know if that was like a likely thing. So the fact that people in this community have supported me, continue to support this program, it is really cool and it means a lot. And I'm not expecting to stay at this number of subs. I know it's going to return.
You've just become an elite member of the Friendship Triangle.
This feels almost unfair here. This feels almost unfair. Don Dark Stony, thank you for 7 more gifted subs. That's absolutely absurd. Anyway, I told people if I got to 800 subs, I'm not expecting to stay at this number forever. I imagine there's going to be kind of a return to the mean here. Nevertheless, I did hit the number that I said that I would eat some incredibly spicy noodles. And now, thanks predominantly to Don Dark Zoni, I will also, later today, be singing a little song.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob
Sailing
talk
by Christopher Cross.
TRRS Sankara.
And thank you, JNKD. And if I get to 100, I'll sing another song. That's probably a little ambitious. Anyway, here we go. Bottoms up. My lips. My lips. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah. After. Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. When I was eating it, I was like, that's not so bad. That's not so bad. It's spicy, but totally tolerable. It's more afterwards. It's more afterwards. It really builds. I gotta get a napkin to get this on my lips. I have I have spicy lipstick on. Oh. Okay. I will say it is very spicy. I'm not gonna deny that. If this is as bad as it gets, it's tolerable. It's not like actively unpleasant. It's pretty bad though. Yeah, I always eat with chopsticks. Bamboo chopsticks is just the best way to go for most foods that I've been cooking lately. Oh. Yeah. My lips are really tingling too. The 3 times spicy must be really bad. Hold on just 1 second. I got to respond to a text here. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Let's go back to our important discourse.
Meanwhile, Canada's Conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre, described the event honoring the former Nazi soldier as the biggest single diplomatic embarrassment in Canada's history. This week, Poland's education minister issued a statement calling for Hunka's extradition to Poland to be tried. For more, we're joined by Lev Galinkin. He is the Ukrainian-American journalist who's reporting for The Forward. First confirmed Yaroslav Hunka was a World War II veteran who fought in a Nazi SS unit. Lev has reported extensively on the Ukraine crisis, Russia, and the far right. Welcome back to Democracy Now!, Lev. So explain exactly who this guy Hunka was. How was it that he's standing there, 98 years old, in the gallery, and pointed out by the House of Commons Speaker, and everyone applauded. You have Trudeau apologizing. I don't think Zelensky has said anything about this yet.
Weird. No one's asked him about that.
Not, as far as you know, Zelensky has condemned this unit, SS Galichina, in 2021 when there was a march in its honor in Kiev. So he condemned it in 2021. He's been silent since as far as this incident. I'll tell you this, Amy, as soon as I saw the news that he was described as a fighter for Ukraine's independence against Russia, I knew that he was a Nazi collaborator. The first question that just went through my mind was, which unit was he in? Because that's a euphemism that they use to say, we didn't fight for Germany, we fought against Russia. It's a cheap rhetorical trick because when they fought against Russia, they were fighting alongside and under command of Nazi Germany. And honestly, I have been shocked because I have reported on Canada's dark history in taking in Nazi collaborators, including in The Nation, about Canada's Nazi monuments, which they have monuments to this exact division. This is a country that on its soil has monuments celebrating the Waffen-SS, as does the United States. So in many ways, Yaroslav Hunka belonged up in the parliament because he was there as part of a country that took in at least 2,000 SS Galician vets, 2,000 of these Waffen SS soldiers from a division that committed horrific war crimes. And one of the interesting things is because they were taking in partly because they were enemies of the USSR, so it was Cold War politics. But, and this is something that gets often lost, an ancillary benefit for why Canada took them in was using them as strikebreakers to break the powers of the unions. The unions were growing strong after World War II, and these men were organized and ready to act as strikebreakers. So this is a dark part of Canada's domestic policy and foreign policy together.
So if you can explain further, when it comes to World War II, how these Nazi units were formed, what their relationship was with Germany.
Yes, it's very important to know that these people are described as, they're Ukrainian heroes.
It's really a delayed reaction.
The overwhelming majority of Ukraine fought against the Third Reich. 2.5 million Ukrainians perished. They gave their lives fighting against the Third Reich. The only ones who really say that, Ukraine, all of Ukraine collaborated with the Nazis, that's what Vladimir Putin says. That's what Moscow propaganda says. The reality is that in many cases, the SS didn't even have to kill the Jews because the Ukrainian nationalist death squads have already done it. So this small percentage rose up. They joined.
It's also so sad that this hasn't been discussed and processed later. Rather, the opposite has happened. Well, look, that's the exact reason why there's this appetite to just move on from this, right? From our ruling class and the political class. We made a big mistake. We accidentally invited this guy to parliament. We're so sorry. Let's just move on. Let's forget about this whole thing. Let's just forget about this whole thing and just remember we're all should be really focusing on, which is that Russia is bad. Oh, excuse me. You can see why they have the appetite to do that. Let's just forget about it, because the more that we pick away at this and tug at these threads, the more we expose this really, really dark history that very few people know about in this country. Oh, yes. We're not looking back. We're looking forward. That's right.
The Nazis, and in 1943,
it is sad and it's very dangerous.
Germany needed even more soldiers because Germany was losing the war. They created this Waffen SS division, which was mostly composed of volunteers, and people like Hunke said that they volunteered for this division. They committed war crimes. At the end of the war, they were taken in and they were released. And many of them, thousands, were taken into the UK, into the US, into Canada. The biggest thing that people should understand is that when we think of Nazis being taken into the New World, we think of Argentina and Nazis hiding there and keeping a low profile. These Nazis were openly proud of what they did in Canada. They formed organizations, they formed veterans associations. I think, people have been asking me, what was he thinking? Why was he even putting himself out there? And the answer is because Canada spent so long turning a blind eye to these people and allowing them to be proud of who they are. The notion that anything would happen, the notion that people would complain, I don't think it crossed this man's mind, because I and everybody else, the few people who reported about this, we were just called Russian propagandists. And even though this were literal Nazis who were historically proved to have committed war crimes, people didn't want to hear it because it's Holocaust revisionism. They were portrayed as heroes. These are war criminals who successfully painted themselves as heroes. So I was stunned that all of a sudden Canada decided to face its past.
So why do you think the Ukrainian president Zelensky has not said anything, given he's condemned that unit in the past? I mean, there he was.
And it's funny, even in the context of Zelensky condemning that unit, condemning the Galician SS division in 2021, when there was a march in Kiev in 2021, which should indicate, you know, not that Ukraine is just filled with Nazis and everyone loves Nazis and the whole country is Nazi. Of course, we don't believe that, and we shouldn't agree with that. But that should prove to anyone when they make these claims about what this Ukrainian nationalism is about and who we've been supporting over the last couple of years, it just shows that there's truth to that. You know, that was 2021, shortly before this invasion happened, when there's a pro-SS march going on in Kiev. That doesn't go on in countries where they're like ashamed of their Nazi past, or these people don't have a sizable role in civil and political life and military life, right? It just shows that it's clearly been an issue. If Zelensky felt the need to condemn that in 2021, and of course hasn't since, and wouldn't, because he would piss off all the nationalist guys that support and promote that.
Along with, obviously, Justin Trudeau, the House of Commons Speaker, who has since resigned, applauding this man. And how was he brought to the House of Speakers' attention? I think he lived in his area, to be brought to the House of Commons, to be celebrated as Zelensky
you could just Google this guy.
House of Commons.
It's literally not even a secret.
Who was active in the community, especially. I think there's evidence coming out that he definitely donated money. Hunka did, and his family did. He donated money to the University of Alberta, for example, for a scholarship that the university just announced they were giving away. So this is a person who was active in the community. So he wasn't just some random person plucked at random. So. As far as Zelensky, I mean, he's in the middle of fighting a war. That's obviously something that's in his mind. He was just away on a state visit. He came back. But
I don't think we should be making excuses for Zelensky.
So far, I don't think anybody's asked him in the media.
I don't think we should be making excuses.
It's not why hasn't he said anything, but why wasn't he asked for his response when Trudeau apologized, when the Canadian Parliament Speaker apologized?
He was clapping.
And I also just want to say, just to understand how entrenched this is in Canada, Canada's Deputy Prime Minister, Chrystia Freeland, has spent years presenting her grandfather, who was a Nazi collaborator, as a war victim, okay? So the Canadian Parliament Speaker spent 30 seconds turning a perpetrator into a hero. Chrystia Freeland has done it for decades. And
Freeland is really
exactly who her
from Chomiak to
is.
Freeland.
Her
for the Ukrainian fascist
as a
legacy.
propagandist
It's interesting,
that took
isn't
over
it?
a Polish newspaper. The newspaper used to be owned by a Jew who was sent and murdered in the death camps along with his family. And her grandfather proceeded then to churn out anti-Semitic propaganda, inflaming anti-Jewish hatred as the Holocaust
This
was
is Michael
rolling along.
Chomiak.
Yes. So, and again, of course, she's not responsible for the sins of her grandfather, and nobody's saying that.
And I agree with that. You're not responsible for the sins of your grandfather unless you go in the media and say, I love my grandfather and I think what he did was good. And then you spend your whole career trying to perpetuate that same legacy. Then, unfortunately, you do have to be painted with the same brush. I agree with that. We all have, or many of us anyways, have ancestors. You're not responsible for what your ancestors did. But when you go and say, like, I think my ancestors were correct to do that and they're good and they were a big inspiration to me, and then you go out and try and continue to spend your whole career trying to perpetuate that legacy, yes, you do need to be painted with the same brush. If you promote and cherish those said sins, that's right.
The problem is that she was actively presenting him as a victim.
Yeah.
That she was presenting this narrative of these people were war victims and these people should be idolized. And when she was caught, she basically just blamed Russian propaganda and walked away. And again, it's not the fact that she's not responsible for her grandfather. She is responsible for twisting history and for revisionism and for presenting a perpetrator as a victim. And that just shows you that, you know, of course Hunka didn't think anything would happen. because you had the deputy prime minister who was caught whitewashing a Nazi collaborator and nothing happened. So
Lev, if you can now,
Canada's looking at it.
Can you talk about Poland and the education ministry saying that they want Hunka extradited to be tried? I mean, the man is 98 years old.
Oh, God, I hope that happens.
There's a mix of politics and real pain happening there. The education minister is part of a
extradite this guy. But Rob, he's 98 years old.
Okay.
Don't care.
So it's
don't
hard
care.
To say that
unrepentant Nazi, unrepentant SS
because
guy.
Of his care for this, it's a political issue, and unfortunately, this has led to a lot of tension between Poland and Ukraine because Poland is one of Ukraine's greatest allies. But because these units like SS Galichina, they had committed horrible crimes against Polish civilians. This unit, it wasn't good at actually fighting.
Hey, Fonz, what's up?
When it fought actual troops. The only
nice
thing it was pretty good at was suppressing resistance and committing war crimes against
some very spicy noodles.
Civilians. So Poland very much feels this pain when Ukraine, which is its ally, insists on honoring butchers of Poles. But Russia is also using it, and pro-Russian factions in the Polish society are using it to drive a wedge between Poland and Ukraine. So the Polish, he's doing it because there's genuine pain there, because SS Galichina did commit war crimes. But there's also a political aspect to it that it's not 100% simply just wanting to get justice. There's a lot of, unfortunately, dirty politics involved in it on both sides.
Interesting. But as I've been saying, folks, we're not just talking about one guy. You know, as we keep talking about. Whoops. As it turns out, wouldn't you believe that University of Alberta had a number of endowments in honor of Nazis? Arguably the most problematic is the Volodymyr and Daria Kubajovich Memorial Endowment Fund, administered by the CIUS since 1986. It's 15 times larger. Kubajovich was the head of the Ukrainian Central Committee in Hans Frank's general government and the very initiator of the Watson SS Galician. Among other things, he was a proponent of ethnic cleansing and lobbied Frank that Aryanized property should be transferred to Ukrainians. Should this not invite careful consideration? But there is an entire flora of other endowments in the honor of Waffen-SS men. There is the Roman and Halia Kolisnik Endowment Fund. We have the Levko and Marika Babij Memorial Endowment Fund, both established in 2011. There's the Edward Brodacki Fund and the Olia and Peter Savarin Fund for the support of Ukrainian studies in Canada. It is not self-evident why the endowment of the Hunkas should be singled out here. Lev Babij, for instance, fought not only the 14th Waffen Grenadier Division, but also in the 5. SS Panzer Division, Wiking by Warsaw. It would be interesting to see how the University of Alberta reasons here. Why Kubajovich but not Hunka? I would welcome a candid debate here. This is a discussion that is necessary. It is healthy. It's needed. It's long overdue. And there he is. There's Volodymyr Kubajovich, circled, gives a Nazi salute at an SS Galichina recruitment ceremony in 1943. An endowment at the University of Alberta honors Kubajovich. Whoops, it was another mistake. We've been making a lot of mistakes lately. We've been making a lot of big oopsie doodles lately, haven't we? We just can't seem to stop. Oh, wait, hold on, wait. Wouldn't you know it? Wouldn't you know it? Turns out a Nazi veteran was awarded the Order of Canada. Whoops. Damn. Why did we just keep making these kinds of mistakes? Peter Savarin, who served in the Waffen-SS Galicia Division and then as the Chancellor of the University of Alberta, the one with all those endowments honoring other Nazi veterans, was awarded the Order of Canada in 1987. Whoops. You mean we accidentally applauded this one Nazi in Parliament? Oh yeah, it's this one guy. We're so sorry. We didn't Google this guy. We didn't Google this guy. We're so sorry. We're moving on. Let's forget about this. There's Peter Savarin, the Order of Canada. Former Chancellor of the University of Alberta and a senior partner in the law firm Savarin and Savarin. This Albertan is the world leader of the World Congress of Free Ukrainians, as well as a founding member of the Alberta Cultural Heritage Council. He has worked to promote multiculturalism in Canada as an active in his community as a volunteer. Well, that's wonderful. That's absolutely wonderful. Well, King of Barbies, this is a big question, right? This is why we need to be incredibly skeptical when the Speaker or when Justin Trudeau or when Chrystia Freeland or when Pierre Poilievre said, what? What? This Nazi? Well, we had no idea. What? Yeah, I noticed that connection as well, Osaku. That's why we have to be skeptical about that. Like, this history is not, it's a dark part of our history for sure that we certainly don't learn about, but it's not a secret. We saw the CBC clip from 30 years ago, the other day, talking about this very specific problem. We saw the 60 Minutes clip from like 25, 30 years ago talking about this. So we're just meant to believe that not only do our political leaders, did they just make a little mistake when they hear about this guy fighting the Russians in World War II, which, as the previous speaker on Democracy Now! Points out, everyone should know what that means. Like, there's no excuse to not know what that means. The anti-Soviet freedom fighters, like whether we're talking about Ukraine or anywhere else in these former Soviet republics, we should know what that means, what these anti-Soviet freedom fighters, who they were fighting with. It's so obvious what it means, but that's it. Not only did they not get that, but they're also just completely ignorant about this whole documented part of our history and this connection between the Ukrainian diaspora in Canada and fascists and the SS. If I was Canada, I would simply not systematically and repeatedly honor Nazis for decades, up to the current day. I think that's totally reasonable, Sam. I think that's completely reasonable. I agree. It seems to be a no-brainer, but apparently we've had some problems with this. How are you enjoying Montreal, by the way, Sam? It's cool that you're here now. What a wonderful place. And look at this. This is the kind of shit that we're seeing on Twitter in response to this. No-brainer, right? Nazi veteran awarded the Order of Canada. It sounds like a big scandal. Who served in the Waffen-SS Galicia Division and then is the Chancellor of University of Alberta. First comment on X.com, the Everything app. First comment, it depends. If they didn't partake in killing civilians and they killed commies, a medal is well deserved. That's the kind of shit that we're dealing with now. People are just totally comfortable saying this kind of thing. We're revising history. We're whitewashing the Nazis. And then this guy, again, Brent Nally, trying to turn it into like a Trudeau thing. Trudeau was not the prime minister in 1986, 1987. That has nothing to do with Trudeau. Nothing whatsoever. What else do we have here? Look, here's George Carlin. George fucking Carlin gets this. As much as people have been trying to promote this idea of like, you know, if you try to suggest that there's that the Holocaust was directly influenced by Western actions, or that our anti-fascism in Canada and the US wasn't based on more economic reasons. People are framing that as being some kind of like Holocaust nihilism or whatever, but it's not. Even George Carlin got this.
Last white people you can remember that we bombed. Can you remember the last white? Can you remember any white people we've ever bombed? The Germans, those are the only ones, and that's only because they were trying to cut in on our action. They wanted to dominate the world. Bullshit, that's our fucking job. That's our fucking job. Now we only bomb brown people.
Fantastic. I do want to take a look at this, okay? Because, again, no one should get it twisted that, like, whether we're talking about Ukraine or the Ukrainian diaspora in Canada, that it's just filled with Nazis. That is not true. And in fact, there was at one point a thriving kind of movement of socialism and social solidarity within our Ukrainian community in Canada, which the importing these SS guys was directly, that was a direct reason for why we were doing it, was to disrupt that. It's been a question of who we've been upholding and who we've been listening to for years and years and years, right? That's more the question. And no one should ever think that our Ukrainian diaspora here is just this purely fascist sympathizing former Nazi rehab project. You know, there's many Ukrainians here in Canada and around the world and in Ukraine that are completely opposed to and justifiably angry about this kind of narrative and this whitewashing of fascism. And we need to start listening to them more. If we want to listen to Ukrainians, I think these are the Ukrainians we should probably be listening to. So this is from the AUUC branch in Edmonton, the Progressive Secular Cultural Educational Labor Farmer Association of Ukrainian Canadians, established in 1918. And this is a fantastic statement. I want to read this whole thing. 29th September 2023. The Edmonton branch of the association. I'm going to open it here so I can like read it a little better. It's pretty small. The Edmonton branch of the Association of United Ukrainian Canadians condemns the honoring of a Nazi Ukrainian World War II veteran, a member of the notorious 14th Waffen-SS Division, Halichnia, in the House of Commons during the visit of Ukrainian President Zelensky last Friday. Our association, founded in 1918 in Winnipeg as the Ukrainian Labor Temple Association, has an unblemished record of opposing fascism in word and deed before and after World War II in Canada, in the Ukrainian Canadian community, and abroad. Our members fought heroically in the Spanish Civil War on the side of the Republican government against fascism. They fought for Canada, allied with the Soviet Union, against Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy in World War II. It is therefore unbelievable to us, as to most other Canadians, that when the individual in question, Yaroslav Hunka, was introduced in Parliament as a Ukrainian veteran of World War II who fought against Russia, no one in attendance, all of whom gave him 2 standing ovations, realized what this meant. We know exactly what it meant. Now this shameful spectacle has been publicized to all Canadians and throughout the world. We welcome this publicization. We hope it will lead to a reckoning. Some steps in this direction have already been taken. The Speaker of the House of Commons has resigned. An endowment in the name of Yaroslav Hunka at the Canadian Institute of Ukrainian Studies at the University of Alberta has been returned. We welcome these steps, but they are only first steps. Much more must be done. The problem is greater than simply one Nazi, one speaker, and one endowment. It is estimated that 2,000 members of the 14th Waffen-SS Division, Halichina, was allowed into Canada after World War II. Our association immediately at that time publicized and opposed their entry, to our everlasting credit. This figure does not include other Nazis and Nazi collaborators of various nationalities. That means thousands of Yaroslav Hunkas. Several of them went on to occupy prominent and leading positions in certain other Ukrainian Canadian organizations. in religious institutions, educational institutions, and state institutions. The Canadian state supports, with funding and semi-official recognition, the Ukrainian Canadian organizations that unapologetically honor these Nazis. If honoring Yaroslav Hunka in the House of Commons was a shameful act that had to be corrected, then so must all these other cases be corrected. I can link this right after Dr. Maggot. We therefore call on the Canadian state at all three levels, federal, provincial, municipal, to halt all state funding to all Ukrainian Canadian organizations which honor any Ukrainian Nazis or Nazi collaborators, including especially veterans of the 14th Waffen-SS Division Halichina, until such time as these organizations explicitly and unequivocally apologize for having done so, severing all connections with all these Nazis and Nazi collaborators in all forms whatsoever. We call for the removal and dismantling of two monuments to Nazi Ukrainians in Edmonton, the monument to the veterans of the 14th Waffen-SS Division Halichina, located in St. Michael's Cemetery, and the bust of Roman Shakovich, located at the Ukrainian Youth Unity Complex, preferably by their respective property owners, but if not by them, then by state compulsion. We call on the Government of Canada and on the Liberal Party of Canada, which formed the government at the time, to issue official apologies to our association in consultation with our association for banning it, then named the Ukrainian Labor Farmer Temple Association, by an order in council in June 1940, seizing its properties, our halls and their contents, furniture, musical instruments, dance costumes, books, etc., most of which were destroyed, and interning our leaders in internment camps, acknowledging this is a terrible miscarriage of justice and act of oppression. In 1940, we had the Canadian state seizing the associations of the left-wing Ukrainian Labor Farmer Temple Association. We call on all Canadians, all progressive Canadians, all decent Canadians, all anti-fascist Canadians, individually and through their various organizations, to support us in these calls for justice by publicizing this statement and pressuring their political representatives. So we hear that often, don't we? We hear that often. Listen to the Ukrainians. We must listen to the Ukrainians. But who exactly do we want to listen to? Who do we want to listen to? Because we've been ignoring these voices now for entire generations. I'll go back to this in a minute. I gotta say, like, the noodles were very, very spicy and definitely not very pleasant. I wouldn't choose to eat this, I don't think. Maybe like mixed with something to dilute it somehow. But it wasn't like so painful that it caused me like long-standing physical discomfort. It was quite spicy. Now I'm feeling all right though. I feel fine now. Yeah, the cheese would probably be good with it. Anyway, let's take a look at this Anthony Blinken tweet. If we thought this kind of historical revisionism was exclusive to Canada, we see Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State for the United States of America, engaging this as well. Okay, sorry. Before we get to that, though, there's already new stuff. CBC News 2 hours ago. The family of Yaroslav Hunka is in hiding in the wake of a political firestorm tied to his service with a Nazi unit in the Second World War, according to a family friend. That same family says the family didn't know Parliament would honor Hunka. That's not true, because we saw his fucking granddaughter's Facebook post before this was like thrilled. I always eat the standard spicy chicken bulldog, and I even add hot sauce to it usually, but I've never had the extra spicy kind. It was very spicy. I imagine the 3 times spicy must be really, really bad. That's what I did promise that I would eat, and I wasn't able to track it down. I hope this has been acceptable for people. Oh, his family's in hiding. They're in hiding because everyone's so mad about this. Too bad. Too bad. No, I have not sang yet, Orb Lady. I've not sang yet. Too bad. And then look at the comments again. People need to leave this 98-year-old man and his family alone. I don't think we do need to, actually. Like the guy was pointing out in that Democracy Now! Clip. He was proud of it. He's proud of it. I don't think we do need to leave this 90-year-old man and his family alone. I don't think we do. This is an unapologetic SS volunteer. People need to leave this 98-year-old man and his family alone.
No. No, I don't think I will.
Ugh. And like that statement was pointing out, there's thousands of these people. And yeah, so I do think an example needs to be set here. And what else is there? There's also, there's this as well. Before we get to the Blinken thing. Let me see if I can find this here. The Globe and Mail as well. Hunka said in an essay that he enlisted in the Nazi unit to protect his homeland. So it's interesting, right? Because even though you have Canadian media that have been dragged kicking and screaming to, like, almost said kicking and streaming. That's more like me. You see Canadian media have been dragged kicking and screaming into actually making this into an issue and actually investigating this a little bit. We all know that if this hadn't turned into a big scandal, everyone in our media class, our political class, would have been more than happy to just sweep this under the rug. But now you see them already kind of try to dilute it. Both CBC and Globe and Mail both saying, like, well, his family's in hiding. He said he only did it to protect his homeland. Like, if someone, that's why everyone volunteered for the SS, because they thought they needed to keep their homeland protected from Jews and Polish people and communists and Roma people and the disabled. That's what they were protecting their homeland from. That's not really like an excuse. That's not something like, oh, he thought he was just misguided. Like, no, they were trying to protect their homeland by carrying out massacres against civilians and LGBTQ people as well, of course. So that's not, I don't even know if I can look at this without a paywall. Since he was celebrated in Parliament, kicking off a political firestorm in Ottawa and outrage around the world, the public has heard nothing from Yaroslav Hunka, the 98-year-old who served in a Nazi unit during the Second World War. But a dozen years ago, Mr. Hunka wrote an essay about his time in the Waffen-SS, which we looked at as well. He described it as like the best time of his life. About his time in the Waffen-SS Galicia Division for an American online magazine focused on Ukrainian war veterans. A piece that provides some insight into what he says were his reasons for enlisting. The sight of a former serviceman for a Nazi-commanded unit, consisting mostly of thousands of ethnic Ukrainians being applauded in the House of Commons, has created all sorts of rancor. Justifiably. It has led to the resignation of Speaker Anthony Rota, the MP who invited Mr. Hunka to Parliament in the first place. and the reigniting of old debates among historians about the culpability of the division in Nazi atrocities. They're really still trying to whitewash this. It's also renewed focus on the fact that several hundred or more former members of this unit were welcomed into Canada with the government's blessing. In his essay, written in Ukrainian and translated into English, Mr. Hunka describes how people in his western Ukrainian city initially welcomed the invading Germans after years of repressive Polish occupation, followed by 18 months of brutal rule by the Soviets. He talks about how under Stalin, and you see they're giving him this platform to spread these kinds of, this is like the Globe and Mail spreading fascist propaganda. Literally. That's literally exactly what it is. And saying, oh, we're not saying it, but this is just what he said. Like, you don't have to print this. You don't have to print and give this like the benefit of the doubt. He talks about how under Stalin, he saw children and their families shipped away to Siberia, and later found out his aunt and uncle had also been taken. When the Galicia division was created, many young Ukrainians jumped at the chance to fight back, he said. None of us asked what our reward would be, what our provision would be, or even what our tomorrow would be. We felt our duty to our native land and left, he wrote. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, why are you reciting fascist nonsense completely uncritically? It's a great question. The Stalinist grandpa meme, exactly. He wouldn't have deported them to Siberia without reason. We were Nazis because we liked it. The former soldier doesn't detail what he actually did during the war, yeah, no shit, but says that many of his fellow recruits died a heroic death at the behest of Ukraine's wartime leaders. Mr. Hunka conceded that there were some bad apples in his division, but says he volunteered at 18 out of a sense of duty to protect his homeland from the Soviets. Like we talked about before, this unit did not fight Soviets. It didn't fight any battles against the Russians. They killed civilians. They killed Jews and Polish civilians. And we have the paper of record here in Canada. This is like the New York Times of Canada, which is still extremely pathetic because it's nowhere near even the same level of importance, but just printing this completely uncritically. And here's is this as close as they get? The uproar in Ottawa. What's the old saying about bad apples? It's a very good question. What we always talk about when we talk about the cops as well. There were just a few bad apples that were doing the Holocaust. And I think this is as close as they come to actually having a reckoning with what this unit was doing. The uproar in Ottawa has heaped renewed attention on the Galicia Division, which was created in 1943 after the German defeat at Stalingrad, as Hitler was growing desperate to turn the tide against the Soviets. After the war, some Ukrainian soldiers linked to the division were accused of war crimes for the killing of civilians in Poland. This is really amazing stuff, honestly. This is open Nazi apologia in the Globe and Mail at a time when, like I said, the Canadian media has just, the fact that they've even talked about this at all is almost a fucking miracle. But here they are just instantly going to work to protect the ruling class and to whitewash the crimes of these fascist Ukrainians. So, like, how many different qualifiers are on there? After the war, some Ukrainian soldiers linked to the division were accused of war crimes for the killing of civilians in Poland. That's actually incredible. In the 1950s, a former Royal Canadian Air Force flight lieutenant named Bohdan Panchuk worked to persuade the federal government to accept large numbers of soldiers from the unit, and it is believed that several hundred, some reports have said as many as 2,000, immigrated to the country. By the 1980s, media reports about Nazis hiding in Canada were rampant, and groups such as the Canadian Jewish Congress were calling for government intervention. In 1986, the Federal Commission of Inquiry on War Criminals was launched in response, which we looked at the other day, and recommended legislation that allowed for the prosecution of foreign war crimes in Canadian courts and the deportation of those found guilty. But while the commission acknowledged it was unable to investigate records kept in the Soviet Union, it says it found no evidence that any of the Ukrainian veterans participated in war crimes. Oh, that's convenient. One thing is certain, there's much evidence in the historical record that some of the officers who oversaw the Galicia division had brutal backgrounds. Oh, thank you. You're really getting to the heart of the matter there. Joschin Bohler, director of the Vienna Wiesenthal Institute for Holocaust Studies, said the division's involvement in war crimes is still disputed and is currently under prosecutorial investigation in Poland, but there's no room for nuance, he said. No, there's not. I mean, if you're in an SS division, you're connected to the crimes of the SS, period. Like, there's no nuance here. There's no wiggle room. But then they still say some of the officers who oversaw the Galicia division had brutal backgrounds. Oh, only some, not all, I guess. Not all of the Nazi SS guys that were overseeing this division. Only some of them had brutal backgrounds. Officials in the fucking SS. Only some of them had brutal backgrounds. I dare you to read the comments on this article after finishing it. Do you know something that I don't know about this, Sam? I don't know if I can do it. I do not know if I can do it. In the opinion of the Vienna Wiesenthal Institute for Holocaust Studies, the honoring of a member of the Galicia division for his membership in this very organization is to be condemned in the strongest terms because in our eyes it implicitly trivializes the Holocaust. He said, Mr. Rota, the former speaker, has said that he was not aware of Mr. Hunka's background when he invited him to Parliament. Well, you're a fucking moron then, sir. A military historian who testified at the 1986 inquiry, however, says conflating those Ukrainian... And they got to hear both sides. You've got to hear both sides because this is what they teach you in J school when you go to write for the Globe and Mail. You got to hear both sides. So we've heard someone say that there's no nuance and they should just be condemned. We got to hear both sides, though. So a military historian who testified at the 1986 inquiry, however, says conflating those Ukrainian volunteers with Nazis is a mistake that ignores the geopolitical reality of Eastern Europe during the war. The Germans considered the Ukrainians as a lesser race to be used only as cannon fodder against the advancing Soviets, says Lubomir Lutsiuk of the Royal Military College of Canada. Mr. Hunka's generation thought supporting a Ukrainian army division, even one led by Germans, was a step toward independence after years of foreign occupation. And again, the Ukraine, foreign occupation, years of foreign occupation of Ukraine. Ukraine was... prior to the establishment of the Soviet Union, was part of Russia. It was just the Ukraine. It was just the Ukraine, the part of Russia. It only became an independent republic under the Soviet Union when they tried to recognize this cultural distinction and try and give people a measure of independence and sovereignty, which they did not have prior to that. But then that gets turned into, years of foreign occupation. They were this foreign occupation. They literally went from being part of Russia to their own independent republic with sovereignty and promoting their own culture and their own language and nationalism under the USSR. And that becomes foreign occupation. Really unbelievable. They weren't motivated by anti-Semitic ideology. They weren't motivated by support for the Third Reich. No Ukrainian could be a Nazi because you had to be an Aryan. They were Slavs. They did this because they saw it as a way to secure their independence. They weren't motivated. They joined the SS, but don't worry, they weren't motivated by anti-Semitic ideology. Let's make sure we get this viewpoint in the Globe and Mail. Let's make sure we get this viewpoint in the Globe and Mail so we can hear all sides of this. They didn't join the SS because they were Are you crazy? They didn't join the SS because they were motivated by support for the Third Reich. No, I think they were. I think they joined the Germany-controlled SS when there's 7 million of their brothers and sisters joining the Red Army to fight the Nazis. I think they joined the SS to indeed, not only because you're motivated by anti-Semitic ideology, but because you're supporting the Third Reich. And what's even the distinction? What's even the point of making these kinds of like equivocations here? I saw on Twitter that Lukiuk's mother was a secretary for Stefan Bandera, but I didn't see proof of it. I'm already very interested in this man's connections to this community, definitely. Professor Lukiuk says a disinformation campaign in the 1970s by Soviet agents in the West called Operation Payback portrayed the Ukrainian veterans as Nazi sympathizers in order to sow division between the Jewish and Ukrainian diasporas striving for independence for Ukraine. It's the Soviet disinformation agents were portraying the Ukrainian veterans of the SS. They're not just Ukrainian veterans, they're veterans of the SS. And it's only because of Soviet disinformation that these SS veterans were portrayed as Nazi sympathizers, according to this guy, who gets way more column inches in this piece than the Holocaust studies expert who was fully denouncing it, by the way. It was Russian disinformation to portray these veterans of the SS as being Nazi sympathizers. Why would anyone think that someone that volunteered to join the SS was a Nazi sympathizer? That must be because of Russian propaganda. Nothing in this piece that's actually so far has talked about what exactly the Galician Division was accused of as well. In Canada, meanwhile, members of the Ukrainian community have worked to rehabilitate the reputation of members of the Galician Division as war heroes and have celebrated their exploits, erecting monuments to them in Edmonton and Oakville, Ontario. Mr. Hunka's appearance in Parliament has generated plenty of international outrage and anger across the country. On Thursday, the University of Alberta announced it was giving back a $30,000 endowment that Mr. Hunka's family had been made in his name to the Canadian Institute of Ukrainian Studies. I don't think they should give that back to his family. They should take that money and maybe donate it to victims of the Holocaust or do something useful with it. To immigrate to Canada, members of the Galician Division would have been screened twice, first in Italy as prisoners of war and again after being transferred to a British labor camp. According to Professor Lukiuk. Professor Per Anders Rudling of Sweden's Lund University, however, says the British only examined the backgrounds of a few hundred of the 8,272 prisoners connected to the division. According to the obituary of Mr. Hunka's English-born wife, he was married in 1951 and immigrated to Toronto 3 years later before settling in North Bay, Ontario. This is really incredible stuff in the Globe and Mail. We've been talking about the normalization of this kind of revisionism and historical revisionism and this whitewashing of Nazis. It's really incredible, even after all this outrage and outcry, that the Globe and Mail is still doing this. The Galician Division still sparks polarizing reactions, with one academic describing it as a, quote, collaborationist unit within the SS run by officers trained in Nazi ideology. Is that what you're describing it as, or is that exactly what it is? It was set up by Heinrich Himmler, the head of the SS and a key figure in the Nazi regime in the spring of 1943 as the German war machine faltered. The division was led by Nazi SS commander Fritz Freytag, who had earlier fought alongside SS death squads responsible for killing Jews and resistors in German-occupied territories. Recruits swore a solemn oath to give, quote, absolute obedience to the commander-in-chief of the German armed forces, Adolf Hitler. Photographs of members of the division taking the oath show them in their SS uniforms giving Nazi salutes. So is that disinformation? How do you have that in your article 3 paragraphs after suggesting that it was because of Russian disinformation that people were accusing these people of being sympathetic to the Nazis? In a speech to the Galicia Division's officers in May 1944, Mr. Himmler spoke of the need for obedience that starts the moment you receive an order to do something you find unpleasant. He also boasted how the loss of Jews has been beneficial to Galicia, the term used for the western region of Ukraine. But of course, they're not motivated by anti-Semitic ideology. Let's not get it twisted. It's a bit telling how much time our words are for from the professor compared to the experts. No, absolutely. It's very telling. And again, this is completely obliterating any argument that like, oh, they're not motivated by anti-Semitic ideology or allegiance to Hitler or Germany. They're merely fighting the Russians. Like, it's completely disproven in this own article that that argument could ever could ever make sense. So by Nazi link, they literally swore an oath to Hitler. That's right. That's correct. Your homeland has become even more beautiful, and I can safely say this since it lost through our intervention those inhabitants who often sullied the name of Galicia, namely the Jews, he said. But yeah, let's not go ahead and suggest anyone was motivated by anti-Semitic beliefs. Jesus Christ. The division's newspaper was laced with anti-Semitic material, according to John Paul Himka of University of Alberta. It talked about the battle against Judeo-communist intruders and was infused with a National Socialist propaganda, including a caricature of a Jew with a yellow star cowed by an SS soldier with a sword. In its April 1945 edition, days before the Ukrainian soldiers surrendered to the British and Americans, the newspaper carried an article about Jewish punitive expeditions claiming Jews were plundering Ukraine. While there's no evidence that After all that, they give all that context, they still didn't talk about like the actual massacres of civilians and the specifics about that. That was completely ignored in this whole article. You would think that would be pertinent information to talk about, the actual crimes against civilians that this division was been accused of. There's not one word about that. And then after all that, though, even talking about literally swearing allegiance to Hitler, all these like things that the people that were part of this division, this volunteer division that was led by Himmler, where they swore this oath to Hitler to volunteer to join this. And then they have the audacity to say, well, there's no evidence that Mr. Hunka shared any of those views. You know what? I think joining the division, volunteering for the SS, is in fact evidence that you do share those views. Actually. Is that crazy? Is that really that crazy? I think it is evidence. When you volunteer for the SS, I think that's evidence that you do share those views of promoting Hitler and believing in these anti-Semitic theories. And then he describes it as the best time of his life. It's the fucking SS, Dave. He volunteered to join the SS. Oh, there's no evidence that he shared none of those views. Ephraim Zurov of the Simon Wiesenthal Center said the unit's history has been reconstructed to erase or minimize links to the Nazis. He said it was a lie to claim that all their members had been freedom fighters with no involvement in war crimes, atrocities, or hunting Jews. Ukrainian soldiers associated with the Galicia Division, in the last paragraph, they finally get to some of this stuff. Ukrainian soldiers associated with the Galicia Division have been implicated in a massacre in a Polish village of Huta Pieniaka, which was hiding Jews and was cooperating with pro-Soviet partisans. Eyewitnesses allege that civilians were rounded up in a church and shot, while women and children were locked in a barn that was set ablaze. That's the final paragraph. They're like, oh yeah, by the way, this unit has been credibly accused of burning alive women and children. While they still have spent this whole time making excuses and justifying and equivocating and promoting this like the viewpoint of the Nazis that were part of it. Oh yeah, by the way, they also were accused of burning women and children alive, but That's neither here nor there. There's no evidence, though. There's no evidence that this man shared any of these views. Maybe he was just one of these freedom fighters. That's what this article is trying to do. Really amazing stuff. Fucking dumb. Like, this comment says, "Don't forget the time-hallowed wartime principle. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Is Hunka any more to blame for fighting with the Waffen-SS than we were for allying ourselves with the Stalinists? Should we hold ourselves responsible for Russian atrocities?" That's this guy's takeaway. Pretty much the same thing, right? It's pretty much the same thing. And then look at, there's the revisionism still. It's complicated and hard to know each soldier's truth. To be sure, Stalin's horde was one of history's worst evils, right up there with the Nazis. Well, no, that's Holocaust denial right there. That's double genocide theory right there. Which is what, again, decades ago, after the end of the war, was widely regarded, Stalin was widely regarded as being like the world leader primarily responsible for defeating fascism. I did eat the noodles already, GMO Radio. I did. For Hunka, I give benefit of the doubt, but also not in favor of saluting a former SS soldier in Parliament. That's good old Canadian liberal centrism there. We'll give this former SS guy the benefit of the doubt, but maybe we shouldn't give him big standing ovations in Parliament. They were pretty good, GMO Radio. They were very spicy. I only had the 2 times spicy and not the 3 times. They were good, but it was pretty painful as well. There are a few, these comments are deeply, deeply cursed. There are a few Nazis in Canada, but plenty of communists. If we believe in guilt by association, then the RCMP had better get cracking on rounding up all of those communists who, by associating themselves with the ideology, are implicitly adopting and endorsing the ideology's past connections to genocide. After all, there's no nuance, according to some. Oh. That's the takeaway. That's the takeaway from learning that we sheltered all these former SS guys. Well, why didn't we get the RCMP to go after communists in our society? That's the real problem. No one can ever really articulate what these genocides are, by the way. I mean, some people think it's about Ukraine, but all of these Soviet genocides that we're meant to remember, like, what exactly are people referring to here? They don't know. They don't need to say. They don't need to justify. They don't need to.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you
They
through
don't need to
all
provide
this.
examples. Everyone knows that it's just as bad. They were just as bad, but really a little worse, though. Really kind of even worse when you think about it. GMO Radio, thank you for the gifted sub to Stalinus. Thank you, GMO Radio, for that. It's like these people think we're living in the bad timeline. We allied with the wrong side in World War II. It kind of does seem like that, yeah. Yeah, then the reply says, odd that this hasn't happened yet. Unless there's sympathy for communism at the very top of government and academia? No, sir. No, there's not. No. No, there is not. Nazism, we got Mr. History Master here. Angus S. Miskers. Yeah, we're going to get to that next, crackety crack, and the thing about Blinken. Nazism is not on par with the general ideology of communism. The serious historical evil was Stalinism and Maoism, which were on par with Nazism. There we go. Again, that's Holocaust denial. I don't know how many times I need to keep saying this. It's Holocaust denial to say things like that, but it's totally normal to have these views now. I don't even know. This is just so stupid, this comment. While I also see communism as fundamentally flawed and evil when put in practice, ruining entire economies, impoverishing the populace, on its own, communism does not demand one-party rule, repression, nor pogroms like Stalinism and Maoism do. Most of the communists in history and today are just harmless, hardcore socialists, starry-eyed believers in utopian fantasy, or anarchic, jealous types consumed with envy and resentment. They remain on the fringes, a laughingstock, while the world has learned its lessons, and sees the remaining communist nations of Venezuela, Cuba, and North Korea as cautionary tales. This is the level of like political literacy and historical literacy we've got here in this country. Then someone says, is it particularly galling to read majority of comments here that are going through all kinds of linguistic gymnastics to justify anyone joining the SS? And this person responds, are the comments hurting a certain narrative? Or does your view of history only account for certain victims of that conflict, but not others? Ukrainians were victims of the Soviets like today. They fought back with help from an opposing side like today. End of story. There we go. You know? And again, none of these people would talk about Canada's role in committing genocide as well. And we're gonna have time to talk a little bit about that at the end of the stream, right? But none of these people, all these people, systematically deny that Canada is a genocidal state as well. That our entire, well, we'll talk about these Soviet atrocities and genocides, which are so obvious to them despite not having any specifics. But they'll deny the fact that we're still committing an ongoing genocide against indigenous peoples today. Cuba creates only cancer vaccine on Earth a decade ago. The person says, this is scary and serves as a warning to us all. Yeah, that's right. And Cuba does all these things while being under sanction and blockade for 70 years. And still, despite all the problems, and despite that it is extremely poor, still, deliberately. It's not poor because of socialism. It's provided a decent living standard for people with socialism. It's a huge socialist success story. It's provided this decent living standard for people despite having the world's foremost military and economic superpower, having their thumb on the scale for the last 70 fucking years and trying to destroy them. No recognition of the Cuban Holocaust. I saw that comment on Twitter. That's unbelievable shit, too. The Cuban Holocaust was actually good, and I support it. And I think it was a good thing, and I'm glad that they did it. Okay, let's find this Anthony Blinken thing finally. This has really just been very revealing and extremely alarming over the last couple of days, though. There's the United States Secretary of State. "82 years ago, Nazis murdered 34,000 Jews at Babin Yar." And then he says, Soviets buried this history, which today Putin's government manipulates to provide cover for Russia's abuses in Ukraine. The U.S. is committed to justice for Holocaust survivors and accountability for atrocities. From Blinken, the Soviets buried this. The Soviets were famously not very forthcoming in talking about the Nazi crimes that they uncovered in Ukraine and elsewhere. When the Soviets, which we forget, as much as we've taken credit for liberating Auschwitz and liberating these concentration camps, the Soviets who liberated these camps, and we're at the forefront of not only talking about trying to raise alarm and concern about these horrible crimes that they discovered, but we're trying to actually have justice for this. Had fought to have more justice, more people brought to justice. Oh, and I'm sorry, I'm not even on the right screen. Here's the screen. Here's the tweet from Blinken. Yeah, the Soviets burying Nazi crimes. That's the opposite of the truth. That's the complete invert. We talk about this revisionism, right? It's the complete inversion of actual reality. And he got community noted. From community notes, Soviet prisoners of war, POWs, were among the people who were massacred at Babin Yar. The Soviets liberated Babin Yar and Kiev in 1943. The Soviets held a trial in 1946 in Kiev for 15 German policemen involved in the Babin Yar massacres. But that's the Secretary of State of the U.S. Churchill completely covered up the news of concentration camps early in the war because he thought the British public would support it. Well, and we know as well those concentration camps were directly influenced by the British and their usage of those exact camps. Yeah, and how about the U.S. hiding the Japanese crimes against humanity on the Chinese? This is the complete inversion of reality that I'm talking about. To suggest that Soviets covered up Nazi crimes, when, as we've discussed endlessly, the United States government brought these Nazis into their political system, into NASA, into the CIA. These Nazis coming into Canada and getting the red carpet treatment from Canadians. It's the complete inversion of reality. It's the complete inversion of the truth. The idea that Soviets covered up Nazi crimes. Why? What even reason would they have to do that? I mean, it doesn't even make sense. And it's completely a false version of reality. And this is the kind of historical revisionism that's happening right now. I have that interview right here. This is David Eisenberg, a Ukrainian Jew born in Kiev in 1926. He was one of the very few survivors of the Babin Yar massacre, which we commemorate its 82nd anniversary today. Just listen to his testimony. He testifies they were led by Ukrainian nationalists and not by Germans to the execution site.
Октября 1941 года было объявление дано по всему Киеву, чтобы все евреи, не только киевляне, а живущие вокруг Киева, собрались все в районе еврейского кладбища. Это в конце улицы Дегтяревской и Сирецкой. Значит, с собой иметь теплые вещи на 2 недели, дорогостоящие предметы, как золото, серебро, бриллианты, деньги и дорогостоящие меха. Вот с этим объявлением евреи народ очень такой исполнительный. Все мы явились к 8 утра к бабьему Яру.
I don't think I can show the video relic. I'll probably get
censored
by Twitch.
Но когда мы подошли к еврейскому кладбищу, там лежало 3 доски, мы должны были переступить эти доски. У меня, правда, был мешок с этим самым сухарями. Там нужно было доску перейти. И в это время не немцы, а украинцы, украинские националисты, они мерзавцы, между прочим, уникальные.
Западные украинцы?
Да, но это в основном были, они же с немцами пришли в Киев.
Пришли с Запада?
Да, до Западной Украины, конечно. Они сорвали с меня наволочку, в которой были сухари. И в это время я увидел страшную вещь. Страшная картина. Пока я еще стоял на доске, я увидел, как немец вырвал у старика, еврея, на руках был внучек. А этот еврей, старик, он снял штаны, но он еще был, извините, в нижнем белье. И он у него вырвал этого ребеночка и вынул «Зайтенгевер», называется по-немецки, штык, и одел его на штык. И этот старик обезумел и бросился к этому немцу, схватил его за глотку. В это время подошел один офицер, и этого, не знаю, кто он там, младший командир, немец, он ударил его по физиономии. Это очевидно не потому, что он защищал евреев, потому что он хотел его предупредить, что он делает, ведь сзади евреи же видят все. Они упираться не будут идти. Он его стукнул по физиономии. Когда он одел ребеночка на штык, я понял, что нас будут убивать. Все подошли вот к этому. Этот украинец сказал: давай скорее проходи. И я прошел, и я же понял, что там за колючей проволокой, за еврейским кладбищем уже убегать никуда нельзя. И в это время собралась... Там очень много было евреев. Кстати, у нас, я уже поздно вечером пришел, нас не раздевали. Я был в одежде. До этого, за час, за два всех раздевали.
Совсем раздевали?
Да, совсем. Даже такой маленький мальчик подошел к немцу и говорит: дяденька, я не могу...
Успокойтесь, Давид.
Absolutely horrific.
Дяденька, а чулки нужно тоже снимать. А ребенку 6 лет или 5 лет. Понимаете, он немца спрашивает, или чулки снимать надо. В общем, короче говоря, там была группа 100 человек, и еще 100 человек, которые голые уже, мы уже одетые были. И запустили 20 собак, овчарок. И эти овчарки стали кусать людей за ноги. Поэтому люди бежали вперед. И вы извините, что я расстроился. Они...
Трудно не расстроиться.
Да. Они...
Тяжкие воспоминания.
Да. Они... кусали людей за руки, и девочки лет 16-14 кричали: за что мы немцам ничего не сделали плохого, но почему над нами так издевается. Они создавали динамику, чтобы эта толпа людей ближе подошла к обрыву. С той стороны обрыва стояли 10 немецких, 10, может быть, 12, я не знаю, а с автоматами.
А по ходу движения не было видно?
Нет.
А в последний момент уже...
Это перед самым обрывом.
Там такой проход был?
Уступ есть, и яр, понимаете?
И на последний момент это не видно было?
Не видно, да. Были слышны выстрелы, частые выстрелы, но кто в кого стрелял, понятия не имели. И когда я подошел к брустверу и увидел... внизу 45 метров, 45 или 50 метров, я не мог измерить, но такая была глубина. Я увидал лежащую женщину, мертвую, еврейку. На ней лежал маленький ребеночек, может быть, ему было год или 2, и он мамин сосал бюст, грудь, да. Но он жил, а мама была убита. И я, когда увидал этот ужас, до этого я видел, когда на штык надели, я потерял сознание. И каким образом я очутился внизу, я не знаю. Но я знаю точно, что я упал с этой высоты вниз.
До выстрела.
До выстрела. И когда 2 или 3 дня, может быть, 4 дня я пролежал без сознания под трупами, спустились немцы, группа немцев, и стали достреливать тех, которые были раненые, которые еще стонали. Не каждого попала же пуля.
Они проверяют.
Да, кто стонал, того они достреливали. Такой был пистолет у них, вот здесь я в Яд Вашеме видел, парабеллум называется. Они из этого очень...
Многозарядный.
Да. Ну, такой немецкий именно пистолет. И они достреливали вот этих всех евреев, которые еще жили. И один немец стал мне на ноги. И он потому что же не знал, что я жив. И я очнулся. От потери сознания я пришел в себя. И я, чтобы боль заглушила мой крик, я укусил себе за палец. Вот за этот палец.
Боль была ужасная.
Страшнее была смерть. Я же знал, что я приму после крика, я приму смерть. Ну, так я 2 или 3 суток потом пролежал по трупам, и на мне еще было 2 слоя трупов. Я когда вышел через Петропавловский тупик на Куреневку, я был весь в крови. Они были ранены, и кровь на меня сочилась.
Не засыпаны еще было?
Нет, они засыпали только через 2-3 дня.
Like, I get how horrific and upsetting it is to look at that, but I think it's probably important to, remember this and to get into the specifics of like the kind of evil that we're talking about, especially in the context of the kind of revisionism that we're living through right now. And you have the Secretary of State using this atrocity, this like absolute horror, and using that to suggest that the Soviet Union was bad, suggesting that they covered it up. I think that's really fucking grotesque. Anthony Blinken, who is Jewish, and engaging in that kind of like revisionism, or engaging in this kind of like double genocide theory. And this is like, think about all those comments that we were just looking at about people like, well, they were under Soviet occupation and the Soviets did all these genocides and massacres. Well, what? Like comparable? What are we referring to here? A famine that happened in the Ukraine in the early 30s? Is that what we're referring to? And it's not to say that the Soviets weren't violent, that violent things didn't happen, but like, we can't be equating these things. There's no equivocating. There's no comparison. There just isn't. But we live in a country where there's been so many decades of like normalizing this kind of revisionism that people are just totally uncomfortable saying like, oh yeah, no, it's like, of course they joined the SS. Why wouldn't they? They were being oppressed so badly by the Soviets. They were being occupied. And it's just that they covered up Nazi crimes. I mean, literally the opposite of that is true. It's been America and Canada who have been trying desperately. Like I've been talking about, folks, there was like factions within the US government that didn't even want Nuremberg to happen. Like Nuremberg happened almost in spite of themselves. Like there were powerful factions in the US government that didn't even want that. And people that were in the SS, not only did they get invited back into Canada, and rolled out the red carpet for them, but they were brought into the CIA, they were brought into NASA, they were brought into all these like official organizations. Like Alan Dulles spent the whole last year of the war recruiting these SS guys and recruiting them into the intelligence establishment. I saw the thing from Bibi Netanyahu as well. Yeah, Hitler wanted to just deport the Jews, and it was only when a Muslim told him that he should do the Holocaust that's when he did it. Like that's just, I don't even know what to say about that. I don't know. And that's what I mean. It's like, we shouldn't be surprised that Canada rolled out the red carpet for these people and have been involved in this process of revisionism. And here we can look at the Netanyahu thing. It's really crazy. But we shouldn't, Canada, the country that we committed genocide. We're founded and built on enslavement and mass murder and genocide. We shouldn't be surprised that Canada has played this role in whitewashing the crimes of these Nazis and rolled out the red carpet to bring them into our nation.
Hitler didn't want to exterminate the Jews at the time. He wanted to expel the Jews. And Haj Amin al-Husseini went to Hitler and said, if you expel them, they'll all come here. So what should I do with them? He asked. He said, burn them.
This is where we're at. Our other greatest ally, in the region. Because we care so much about what happened to Jewish people during World War II. Philadelphia's finest. Yeah, that's right. So I don't know. It's just
you can count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Oh my. Gwynny, thank you very much for 24 months tier 1. Thank you, Gwynny. I really appreciate that. And enjoy your really tonally shifting very on a dime here. Enjoy your highly elite and exclusive 24-month TRS sub badge. Shimmering golden. Wow, that was really a big transition. That was a quick transition. Let's I'm going to take a little 5-minute break, okay? Then I'm going to come back and we can hang out a bit more and finish up. All right? Now listen, I owe everyone a song. There's no denying that. Okay? I will say, after everything that we've discussed over the last 2 hours or so, I feel a little less enthusiastic about performing the song Sailing by Christopher Cross on this stream after everything we've discussed for the last 2 hours or so. I think that makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable at this point. However, if I don't do the song today, I'm a man of my word. As I've said, we hit the 50 subs. We hit the 50 subs. I will do the song, just maybe not today. Okay. I'll be back in just a minute, okay?
I've already found.
Don't go anywhere. Maybe I'll do the song if people are really enthusiastic about it. We will see. Give me a moment. And I'll be back in a little bit. Hello. Hello. The past should be a lesson to us, yet we need optimism to shape the future. Greetings from Germany to all you who seem to have your hearts in the right place. Well, thank you. Weizen Gourmet. Thank you for that. What if it was Subtember? And subscribing got you a low space to collect often undesirable liquids such as water or chemicals. Imagine if that's what it was. So what do we think, folks? I think this has been fantastic. I had said it was pretty ambitious to do this stream today, and I wasn't really expecting people to show up or support it, and people did, and I think that's really fantastic. I feel a little uncomfortable about singing yacht rock songs. I feel a little uncomfortable. I'm gonna have to let people. I don't know. I'm not trying to get out of anything. I'm not trying to wriggle out of anything. I fully intend to sing the song now that I've passed the 50 sub barrier. I'm thinking about punting it till this week, though, and I'll just do it then. I don't know if Don Darkzoni is still around. The people want the song. The people need the song, and Don Darkzoni contributed so much to get there. So I don't know if I can deny that. Is there a palate cleanser to hype you up? I don't know. It's just a weird transition. It is a weird transition from watching that extremely upsetting and vile Holocaust testimonial and to spend all this time talking about this horrible sort of revisionist project that our nations are a part of. I just don't know. I just don't know, folks. Don't know what I'm supposed to do here. Anyway, I'm doing the song. I'm doing it, to be clear. To be clear here. To be clear. I will be doing it. And I will make sure it is at a time when Don Darkzoni can be present, considering Don Darkzoni contributed so much to encourage this. Yes, the, quote, honorable Don Darkzoni did so well in a valiant attempt to take my spot on the leaderboard. Thankfully, Dr. Maggot's still had a rightful deserving place in the leaderboard. What's the stream schedule lately? Well, I've been aiming to start at 12 p.m. at the latest. I did talk about making an effort to start a little bit earlier to give myself a little bit more time. So that's usually what I try to do, 12 p.m. Lately, I've been having a harder time doing that and actually getting there, but I'm aiming for usually 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as the start point for the stream. Which days of the week? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. 5 days per week. Don Darkzoni stopped just 2 subs short of wiping me off the leaderboard because it's known I'd cry real human tears. Exactly. the gentlemanly move here. The gentlemanly maneuver from Don Dark Sony. Anyway, folks, I owe you a song, all right? And I promise. It's the Rob Rousseau promise, and that's something that you can take to the bank. You can count on that. You almost said the thing. What was the thing? Ah, yes. Oh, this looks great. This looks great, Dr. Maggot. This looks like an interesting video. I saw someone sharing this TikTok phrenology problem thing. I don't think I can do a whole other big video thing, though. I think I'm starting to be a little bit beat here. I think I'm going to have to get going soon. I'm going to have some parenting shit I got to do as well. And I'm still supposed to be seeing people tonight, but we'll see how it works. Anyway, I think that's going to do it for me today. I think this was still a wonderful stream. And I ate spicy noodles. That was something. That was something. This interlude is a goodbye. I wanted to stay a little bit longer. I wanted to stay till 6 because I have people coming out to my neighborhood at 6. Oh, that was a cool effect there. Little reverse backwards footage there. I have people coming out here at 6, but I've been getting some texts. I got some possible parenting stuff that I got to deal with as well. So I am genuinely not just trying to like get out of my responsibilities. I legitimately have some stuff going on here that I kind of have to like focus on for a few moments. More like interleave. Always great to catch the stream when you can. Thank you, Freelance Communist. And thank you, Sam, as well. It was good to see you again, Sam. I'm happy to see you in the chat again. It's good to see you in the chat. Thanks everyone for tuning in for this final Slubtember push. And seriously, Don Dark Zoni, thank you so much. Like, you basically single-handedly dragged my ass across this like ambitious sub goal that I wasn't even sure if it was going to be possible to do. I really appreciate that, Don Dark Zoni, and every single person that tuned in. I really, really appreciate everyone that has tuned in this week that supports this show. I really do. Thank you very much. And believe me, Don Dark Sunday, I will not forget your support, and I will ensure that you are present when this song is sung. My name is Sam too, so it's like you're speaking to me as well. I'm going to remember that, Dr. Maggot. So thanks again, folks. Seriously. I'm sorry that I wanted to do a big Slubathon thing, and it didn't really work out. But this was still a great stream. I ate some very, very spicy noodles. I hope you enjoyed that. My stomach is quite like, I can feel the fire in my stomach still. Though there seems to be some people that disagree with the level of spiciness, and I don't know. Certainly there are spicier things. I found it pretty bad, but also not like intolerable. It was like, the noodles were not spicy. I mean, they're pretty fucking spicy. It's not like unbearable. It's not like torture or anything like that. I think it's legitimately something that people could eat, you know? Sin Chow is too spicy caucus. We didn't see you physically die on streams and not spicy enough. Again, folks, thank you for supporting my final Slubathon push, my final Slubtember push. I'll be back on Monday, barring any unforeseen circumstances. And we'll keep it going. We'll keep this shit going, all right? Thanks again, friends.